All right, welcome to today's video. It is Chapter 1, Lesson 1B. We're adding and subtracting negative fractions. So first thing I want to say is that sometimes the textbook will put a negative sign on the top of a fraction. Sometimes it'll put a negative sign in the bottom of the fraction. And sometimes it puts the negative sign out in the middle. And they all mean the same thing. So don't get confused if it's top, bottom, or middle. All means the same. Second thing I want to say is let's review adding and subtracting positive negative numbers before we go to positive negative fractions. So this is what our last quiz was on, -3 minus 4. Really? So I think the really question is important. We're really going to add, and then we're going to think bigger. -7. -9 plus 8, we're really subtracting those digits. So it's some sort of a 1. I think look and see who's bigger. It's negative. This is really subtract. 1 negative, negative. 1 negative is subtracting. Find who's bigger. This question, remember, first we had to fix the things that were touching. So we don't want two negative signs touching each other. We make them a plus sign. Now I really subtract because I see 1 negative. The 1 negative was out here. So 1 negative, 1 positive. 1 negative means you really subtract. So some sort of a 7. Then I look and see who's bigger. It's a -7. So we're going to take that same idea and apply it now to fractions. So if I had -5/9 plus 1/9, well, I know it's going to be something ninths. That part doesn't change. And if I look at the numerators, the -5 plus 1, -5 plus 1, it really just turns into one of these old problems. I happen to have a fraction, I happen to have denominators, but I don't really do anything with those denominators. I just do something with the top. So is this a really add or a really subtract question? It's a really subtract. Think bigger. -4/9. I subtract the 5 and the 1, and it's negative because I have 5 negative things. All right, you try this question. Okay, -7/10 plus 9/10. Pause the video, write down your guess, and then hit play. All right, see if you're right. I ended up with +2/10 because -7 and a +9 means I'm really subtracting. So I'm going to subtract and get a 2. Then think bigger. 9 is bigger than 7, and 9 has a plus sign with it. There's 9 positive things. So it's a +2. 2/10 can be simplified down to 1/5. And so if something can be simplified, we should simplify it. All right, let's look at this one. I have a -1/6 plus -5/6. This plus sign, it doesn't have to be there. If you would rather scribble it out, you can. I now see 2 negative signs. Negative here, negative here. 2 negatives means I really add. So I'm going to add the 1 and the 5 to make 6. 6, but that can be simplified down to 1. Oh, but I didn't think bigger. I have to think bigger. This guy is bigger, so the final answer is -1. Okay, before we move on to denominators that are not like denominators, let's do these last 2 questions. So pause the video, work them out, hit play, and see if you were right. All right, I got -1 2/5, and I got -1/4. Let's see how I did it. I have 2 negatives. 2 negatives mean I really add. That's how I got this number right here. I really added the 4 and the 3. Think bigger. 4 is bigger than 3. 4 is negative, so my answer is negative. Remember, it can go top, bottom, or middle. Uh-oh, it's improper, so I have to change it to a mixed number. 5 goes into 7 once with 2 left over. Since it was negative, it's still negative. The negative doesn't go away. Down here in pink, 3 minus 5 is negative 2. And then I need to simplify. And so since it was negative here, it'll be negative here. And then I simplify like normal. All right, let's try some that don't have the same denominator. So I have a negative and a negative. I have a 4 and a 5. These two negatives mean I'm really going to add. So I'm really adding. And the 4 and the 5, I have to get common denominators. So let's do 20 as our denominator. 4 times 5, so 1 times 5. 5 times 4, so 2 times 4. Now it looks like this section over here. I have the same denominator. I have two negatives. That means I really add. 5 plus 8 is 13. 13 twentieths. Since it was negative, it's still negative. All right, here's our last example. 2 3/4 minus 3 1/3. So now we have mixed numbers. So let's recap. We first started, I reviewed with you just regular plain old integers. Then we did common denominator fractions. Then we did not common denominator, so unlike fractions, I guess you'd say. Now we're doing mixed numbers. So we've got 2 3/4 minus 3 1/3. Am I really adding or am I really subtracting? Well, I see one negative, so that tells me I'm really going to subtract. But when I subtract, I need to put the bigger number on top. So I'm going to rewrite this up and down, and I'm going to put 3 1/3 on top because it's bigger. Common denominators, I would get 12 and 12. This is times 4 times 4. This is times 3 times 3. Remember, when you're subtracting mixed numbers, you can't go 4 minus 9, so we don't want to go within this question. We don't want to keep going negative. We're going to have to borrow. So the borrowing goes like this. The 3 goes down to 2, and the 4 turns into, do you remember? Turns into 16. 4 plus 12. You're just going to add these two guys up. So now I can do 16 minus 9. 16 minus 9 is 7. 7/12. I don't have anything. 2 minus 2 is nothing. So when I come back up and look at my question, 2 3/4 minus 3 1/3, I ended up with 7/12. But, I have to think bigger. So my final answer is negative, because 3 1/3 was a bigger amount of stuff, and 3 1/3 is negative. Negative 7/12. All right, try this question by yourself. Negative 8 5/9 minus 2 1/9. My hint is going to be, you have to ask yourself the really question. Am I really adding or really subtracting? Then think bigger. All right, good luck. Pause the video. All right, did you get negative 10 2/3? So I really add these guys. So it doesn't matter who I put on top. I decided to put the 8 on top, but when you're adding, who cares? So I'm adding these. I didn't even include these negative signs. I just put, this is kind of my scratch work. This is what I'm doing. I'm taking this guy and adding to this guy. 5/9 and 1/9 make 6/9, which can be simplified. 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 2/3, and then I go back up and I say, but who is bigger? My bigger guy wins the race, and 8 is bigger, so that makes the 10 2/3 negative. All right, go to Google Classroom and your questions will be waiting. Bye.